Humagyanatmarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantekam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Bhagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamscha Hey Krishna Karana Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Sarasati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're continuing to present the teachings from Harinam Cintamani, the conversation between Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Haridas Thakur, as it's described by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we heard how the holy name is chanted in 3 different levels: offensive chanting or namaparad, and then nam abhas, the shadow of the name, and shuddha nam, the pure name. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then requested Haridas Thakur to describe the different offenses which are there in chanting the holy name. And the first offense which was mentioned by Haridas Thakur was this sadhu ninda, or to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their life in propagating the holy name of the Lord. And this is often called Hatimata, the mad elephant offense. As you can see in the picture on the bottom right, the elephant, when they get angry, you know, they're very uncontrollable. We had recent experience in Mayapur with the elephants. You know, we were keeping 2 elephants in Mayapur previously. But one of them got very angry one day, and she killed the keeper. And so, you know, it was considered inappropriate to keep such creatures in the holy Dham in Mayapur, because there's so many public coming there, it could be very dangerous. So the Mayapur managers, they arranged for another home for the 2 elephants, and they were sent to a very nice place where many elephants actually are taken care of. But if you go to Mayapur nowadays, you won't see the elephants. Anyway, the point is elephants, very dangerous. They get angry, you've got real problems. They can really kill people. And they can destroy everything in the garden. Our creeper of devotion can be seriously damaged by offenses to a devotee. So we want to hear about this offense from Haridas Thakur. So Haridas Thakur begins to discuss, first of all, who is a devotee? How can we understand who is actually a devotee? And you can see some of the pictures there of different, we may say, sadhus, or some pious people. So which one is, who is actually the devotee? Or are they all devotees? We have to understand, how do we define a holy person? So, as we talked about the holy name, we said there were primary names and secondary names. Similarly, there are different characteristics of devotees. There are primary characteristic and also secondary characteristics. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as in the Bhagavad Gita, it's explained the different characteristics or qualities of a devotee. And the principal characteristic, however, is surrender to Krishna. And from this one characteristic, then the other characteristics all manifest. When one is actually surrendered to Lord Krishna, then all of these other qualities will manifest themselves. You can see here in the illustration, we've shown surrender to Krishna in the center, and then other qualities like tolerant, detached, peaceful, merciful. Of course, in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Kapila Shiksha, Lord Kapila had told his mother that she needed to take shelter of a sadhu. Her husband had left home and she was feeling estranged. Her husband had gone away and left her. Of course, she was fortunate that she had a son who was an incarnation of God, and he could properly guide her. And so he told her that she had to take shelter of a sadhu. And Lord Kapila went on to mention the characteristics of the sadhu. Titikshava, Karunika, Suridam, Sarvadehinam, Ajata, Shatrava, Shanta, Sadhava, Sadhu Bhushana. So Sadhu Bhushana means the ornaments of a sadhu. These characteristics will develop, like tolerant, merciful, friendly to everyone. He has no enemy. He's in knowledge of Shastra. These kind of qualities will all develop. But the primary characteristic of the sadhu is they have to be surrendered to Krishna. And from that one characteristic, then all the other good qualities come. Right? Srimad Bhagavatam says, Yashyasti bhakti bhavati akinchana. One who is a devotee of Krishna has all the good qualities. Why? Because the demigods are so pleased that he's surrendered to Krishna. Therefore, the demigods will bestow their blessings on that person, and all of the good qualities will manifest in their character. But one who is not a devotee, even though they may be very honest and very moral, but if they're not a devotee, we understand that actually they don't have good qualities. Why? because they're on the material platform. They're struggling with the modes of nature. Sometimes they may be good, but other times they can be influenced by passion and also ignorance. And Srila Prabhupada told how he had one time gone to post office, and when he was in the post office, the gentleman in the post office was asking him, "Oh, why you need to be a devotee like this? Why you have to renounce the world?" He could see Prabhupada had separated himself from the material activities, and he was engaged in missionary work, preaching. And so the man in the post office said, "Why you have to do this?" He said, "I'm a good person, I'm honest, I'm moral, I don't do any harm to anyone." But Prabhupada explained, actually, you're still under the modes of nature. Sometimes you're good, but not all the time. You're influenced by the material energy, and the modes of nature are there. So, primary characteristic of the devotee, surrendered to Krishna. We point out that being a devotee, it does not depend on your varna or your ashram. Sometimes we think, oh, because somebody is a renowned sannyasi, he must be a devotee. But actually, it does not depend on our ashram. We do not judge a person's spiritual advancement by their varna or by their ashram. It's very important to understand. Often we're in the bodily conception of life, and we look at people and we can, oh, he's just working in a factory. But Srila Prabhupada writes in one purport in the Bhagavad Gita that some of his disciples are working in offices and in factories, but they're actually in the renounced order of life because they're dedicating themselves in the service of Krishna, bringing their families up in Krishna consciousness and also contributing some of their earnings to maintain the Krishna conscious center. And like this, they're actually renounced persons. So we do not judge a person's spiritual advancement by their varna or their ashram. Neither do we judge by their age. Just because somebody is elderly, it doesn't mean that they're spiritually advanced. You know, just because you're in old age, you may be in old age and totally materially attached. So we cannot judge a person's spiritual advancement by these physical characteristics. Oh, someone's very strong. Oh, he's very good looking. Does it mean they're spiritually advanced? No, not at all. Or someone's very rich. Oh, it means he's got the blessings of Lakshmi. Is it a blessing? Some people may think it's a blessing they'd like to have. But, of course, that's not how we judge a person's spiritual advancement. And similarly, having many followers is not a measure of one's spiritual advancement. Tomorrow is the disappearance day of Srila Narottam Das Thakur. Narottam Das Thakur was he was the disciple of Lokanath Das Goswami. And he was the only disciple of Lokanath Das Goswami. So Lokanath Das Goswami had only one disciple, but he was a very elevated soul. Narottam Das, his disciple, went on to have thousands of disciples. So we do not judge a person's spiritual advancement just by material characteristics. We have to see the internal mood, the mood of complete surrender to Krishna. So this is an important point to remember in trying to understand who is a sadhu or who is the devotee. Now, here we show that someone who is devotee, they may have traces of faults or sin in their activities. We have shown on the left side the 9 different stages of devotional service as listed by Rupa Goswami. So in the beginning, coming to Krishna consciousness, some new devotee, you have some faith, there will be a lot of anarthas there. Yesterday we spoke about the different anarthas, maybe material desires, that the weakness of heart and the material desires. And then there's also aparads. So anarthas will be there. We come to Krishna consciousness. Generally, we're not pure devotees when we come to Krishna. We have to begin the practice of devotional service. So we come with anarthas, but as we go on through the different stages of bhakti, sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, anartha nivritti, gradually the anarthas are reduced. And as the anarthas are reduced, our bhakti and attraction to Krishna increases. We become more and more attached to hearing and chanting, and it becomes something we enjoy, we relish, to take part in the kirtan, and to come and hear the kathas. All different activities of devotional service become a joy to the devotees. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti ritkarana rasayana katha. Topics of Lord Krishna, when heard in the association of devotee, is very pleasing to the ear and to the heart. Of course, that's as we develop the taste. We've got more taste and we have more interest to hear. The anarthas are being reduced and we're developing more and more attraction to Krishna. So in this way, our sin or our faults are being also eradicated. So surrender to Krishna means that the devotee appreciates other devotees. And Krishna appreciates devotees. Krishna appreciates a devotee who's surrendered, and one who is surrendered will appreciate the devotees. And certainly he will not criticize other devotees, other Vaishnavas. You can see the illustration on the bottom right. It's a very early illustration from the times of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, showing the devotees in Jagannath Puri associating together. And in the picture, Haridas Thakur is also there with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the other great Vaishnavas who were all associating together. So devotees come together. They're not critical or envious of each other. They are happy to be in the association of devotees. They take pleasure in these activities. And by associating with the devotees, then we develop our own faith and our own devotion. Just like we're coming here to associate sadhu sangha, we're having the opportunity to come together, to spend so much time hearing and chanting. And certainly it's very helpful for us in terms of our own faith, to see and to be with so many other devotees, and to understand that we're not alone and we're not unique, but there are many other devotees from other parts of the world who are also engaged in chanting and dancing, and who are also eager to chant Hare Krishna mantra, who wake up early in the morning and who dedicate themselves for Krishna's service. So in the association of devotees, these things become very pleasurable. And Haridas Thakur also mentions about receiving the remnants from the Vaishnavas, like the remnants of the foodstuff of the devotees, and the foot dust, and the foot wash. And usually, in ISKCON, we're a little cautious about these things, especially in a country like China. You wouldn't want to do these things in China because the government there has a very strict policy about worshipping a person or honoring a person. So we have to understand the nature of the environment. In Bangladesh or India, you can do these things, but other places, you have to be very cautious, because most people are not accustomed to this, and they don't have the faith. They don't have the same faith which is there. So with caution, you have to do these things. When the devotees, first of all, arranged to wash Prabhupada's feet, Prabhupada had not told them anything. And when they did it, Prabhupada said, oh, you're learning. Prabhupada remarked, oh, you're learning these things. And Prabhupada himself had not requested anything like that. But anyway, Prabhupada is a very, very exalted personality. So nowadays in ISKCON, we're a little cautious about these things, depending especially which part of the world you're preaching in. Anyway, the association is very important. So here we show how from Lord Krishna, who's situated in the heart of everyone, but he's particularly in the heart of the spiritual teacher, and the spiritual teacher gives that seed of devotion to someone to become a devotee. Right? Brahmanda Brahmite Kunya Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. The seed of devotion. When one is fortunate, when one is a fortunate soul, he gets that seed of devotion from the spiritual master. And we want to nourish that seed. We want to take care of it, cultivate it nicely. So, we're talking about sadhu nindana. What is that sadhu ninda? What are these different offenses? So 4 are mentioned by Haridas Thakur here. First one is, you can insult someone on the basis of their birth. Oh, you're a low birth. He's a low birth, that person. We may criticize him like that. One time in New York, at that time devotees had the temple in Manhattan. So there were some black-colored Negro devotees there, and one of them had gone to Prabhupada and told Srila Prabhupada that, Srila Prabhupada, devotees here are prejudiced because I'm black. They criticize me. And Prabhupada said to him, he said, they are wrong and you are also wrong because you're also in the bodily conception. If you think you are black, this is the bodily conception. You are not black or white. You are a spirit soul. So somebody criticizes you, they may be wrong, but we should not take it in the material sense. We should not be affected. We should understand that this is just simply their mistake. But one who is a devotee will be transcendental to this kind of dealing because he understands himself as a spiritual being, a spirit soul. So somebody offends you, just tolerate. That's their mistake. And if you get affected, then you're also mistaken. You're also in the bodily concept of life. We do want to understand these points. So we don't criticize a person on the basis of birth and then previous sins of this life. Before becoming Krishna conscious, one may have engaged in many different types of activities against religious principles. But if somebody has come to Krishna consciousness, they've given up all their sinful activities. They've taken up the 4 regulative principles and they're faithfully chanting the holy name. Then they're understood to be reborn. They have the new birth. But if we criticize them on the basis of the past activities, then this is an offense. There was one devotee in Germany. Prabhupada asked him, what work were you doing before you became a devotee? And the devotee said, Srila Prabhupada, I was working in a slaughterhouse. We had to slaughter the animals every day. So Prabhupada said, oh, very good. Now you have become a devotee. Now you're delivered. And he gave him the name Mahajan. Yeah. Prabhupada did not criticize anyone. He's understood that somehow, due to our past activities, we were placed in all kinds of situations. But by the mercy of Mahaprabhu, we come to Krishna consciousness. So everything is changed. All the past deeds are removed. All the sins of the past are all removed by the chanting of the holy name. And if we criticize people on the basis of their past sins, this is an offense. Another kind of offense, there may be traces of previous sinful habits. Traces of previous sinful habits at the present. So someone's come to Krishna consciousness, and they may have, in the past, before becoming devotees, as we said, they had some bad habits. They did things which were not proper. But now they've become devotee. And they're trying to practice Krishna consciousness. But they still may have some tendency towards the previous sinful activities. Just like one time there was this one devotee, and he had a habit of smoking cigarettes. And you know, smoking cigarettes, it's not very easy for people to give it up. When they have a very strong habit of smoking, it's difficult for them to give it up. So this one person, he became a devotee, but he had great difficulty, and sometimes he would go away in the night, he'd smoke a cigarette. He said, I just had to have a cigarette, you know. And the temple president understood. Yeah, he was a tolerant, he was a experienced manager. And he said, okay, okay. He said, you go, and he said, but don't go every night and don't smoke too many. And you got to try and stop. And the devotee gradually did. He gave it up. But in the beginning, it was difficult initially. So getting rid of sin, if we criticize people for these things, it's also not good. And then finally, accidental sin. By accident, someone does something sinful. They may, maybe they went to some social function, maybe their family members invited them to some social function, and they didn't realize what they were eating or what they were drinking, and maybe it was some kind of forbidden food. And after they do it, I drank, I've eaten it, they do it by accident. So someone may do some kind of sin like that. They didn't do it intentionally, so we should not criticize them. Otherwise, that becomes an offense. We don't want to be offensive to the devotees. Okay? So you can see the effect of the aparad. You commit offenses against people, it damages our own devotion. It reduces our own level of bhakti. It makes the growth of our bhakti more difficult. It doesn't completely destroy it, but due to offense, our devotion can be stopped or suspended for some time. So we do want to be very careful. Here we quote from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text number 30. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. All right? This is a very interesting verse in the Bhagavad Gita from the 9th chapter, which is the very heart of the Bhagavad Gita. And Lord Krishna is describing his very special feelings towards a devotee. That if he is actually determined in his devotional service, even though he may do something very bad, Krishna will deliver him. In fact, he's to be considered saintly. So, our acharyas, they comment about this. Is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur talking about this kind of mood which the Lord has towards a devotee. He says, the Lord thinks, my attraction to my devotee is my very nature. That attachment does not decrease even if the devotee commits wrong. For I make him come to the highest standard. If someone with bad conduct, addicted to violence, thievery, or adultery, worships me and worships no one except me, and does not follow any other process like karma or jnana, and has no other desire than my desire, he is my devotee. It's a very powerful statement to make, that even though someone he did something very sinful, but because he's completely attached to Krishna and he worships no one else, then, of course, the person who does the sin feels very bad about it. He does not take pleasure in it, but he hates himself for it. He just cannot somehow overcome it. He has that tendency. But within his heart, he hates himself and he's disgusted with himself for this tendency. So we may respond, well, considering his bad conduct, how is he a devotee? So the Lord replies, he is to be respected as a devotee because of his devotee qualities. It is a command. Not doing so is an offense. My order is the authority. So the devotee may respond, so he should be considered a devotee in that person where he worships, in that portion where he worships you as a non-devotee, in that portion where he commits adultery. He should be considered a devotee because he worships you, even though he commits some sinful activity. Still we are supposed to worship him. He worships you, we have to worship him and respect him. And the Lord responds, no, he should be considered as a devotee in all his parts. You should not see his bad qualities at all. He is completely convinced. He makes a splendid resolution. I will go to hell for my sinful actions, which are hard to give up, but I will not give up dedicated worship of Krishna. So this is the Lord's words. He's paraphrasing the thinking of the sinful person who is a devotee, that he hates himself. I think I will go to hell, but I will never give up my worship of Krishna. So this is the mood, and that mood conquers the Lord, and the Lord arranges for that person to be delivered. He makes arrangement that he will come. He will eventually give up his sinful tendencies and go on to continue his worship of Lord Krishna. So this is this very special dealings which Lord Krishna has for his devotee, even though the devotee may have some sins, right? So we will go ahead. So what is the cause of this sadhu ninda? Why do we commit offenses against devotees? One of the main causes is asat sangha. You associate with the wrong people. You hear from people who have nothing good to say about devotees. So this is generally the cause. We also mention that association with women outside of marriage is also a problem. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked how to recognize a devotee. And Mahaprabhu said, Asat Sangatyag E Vaishnav Achar. Stri Sangha Ekasadu Krishna Bhakti Ar. That one who is the devotee, he will give up the association of the asat. Means we will give up association with the materialistic society, with the non-devotees, with the sense enjoyers, or with the fruitive workers, or the mental speculators, the jnanis. That is all asat sangha. And asat sangatyag e Vaishnav achar. This is the behavior of the Vaishnava. Stri sangha, again, association with the women. Now for the women, it's association with the men. You know, we're not just only talking about women or condemning women. Women should also think association with the men is the danger. So association with the other sex outside of marriage. And within marriage, if the husband is under the control of wife, right? Husband under the control of the wife. And with persons associating with women or associating with the other sex. And then also non-devotees. Association with the and the non-devotees are classified. Mayavadis. We've been speaking quite a bit about the Mayavadis. Mahaprabhu taught us Mayavadi aparadi, that those who are Mayavadis are offenders against the Lord. So we should be very careful to avoid their association. We don't like to hear from them. We don't like to be in their company. Mahaprabhu would not associate with them, even though they may be sannyasis. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was careful to associate with devotees. And then another kind of non-devotee, pretenders. Pretenders mean they're trying to be like devotee, they look like devotees, but they don't behave like devotees. They don't act as the devotee. They may never chant, they may eat forbidden food, and these kind of things. And then atheists. Atheists are, unfortunately, around the world, everywhere. We do have a lot of atheism. Some devotees I know in Australia, it was, so they told me they had a program at the ANU, Australian National University, Canberra. Yeah, so they were going to ANU, they had a Krishna Club program. But they said, the place where they had the program, after their program, the next group to come in and have a program was the Atheist Society. So even in somewhere like ANU, where people are supposed to be highly educated, they have the Atheist Society. And of course these atheistic people came in and they see the devotees and they ridicule, look at these stupid people, you know. And you know, they have no respect, no understanding. They just criticize and condemn people who have any faith or religious belief. So to associate with atheists is very unpleasant, and definitely we don't like to have that kind of company. And then also Devata worshippers. Worshipping other gods and Krishna is also not very good for our Krishna consciousness. We do find people worshipping. We have many people who come to Krishna consciousness. Initially, they were Devata worshippers. And we, you know, sometimes they will ask us, can I keep my same altar? Because they have pictures of many different devas. And they say, so many devas here, can I just keep them here and I'll have Krishna also? So we say, oh, okay, you know, in the beginning, you can go ahead, you can do that, you know, initially, because they're coming to Krishna consciousness. They're making an effort to become devotee. And so we can allow these kind of things in the beginning, but it's not really ideal. And Devata worship, generally, they consider all the gods are one. Yeah? You go to some places and you'll see they have many gods. Which one do you want? You can eeny, meeny, miny. You can pick which one you would like. And so Devata worshippers, again, it's another form of Mayavada, that they think all the gods are one. Ultimately, everything is one, and we're all God. And so it's not really the kind of association which we want to encourage. So they're also in the category of non-devotees. It's important for us to be able to distinguish who is a devotee and who is not a devotee. If we cannot distinguish that, then we don't know who to associate with. And we don't know who to hear from, or who to share our feelings, and who to reciprocate with in Krishna consciousness. If people, if you give someone who's not a devotee, and you give him, say, I've got some nice prasadam here, I brought you the prasad. What? Prasad? What's this? They're not devotees. They have no appreciation for the mercy of the Lord. So we have to be careful to be able to distinguish who is a devotee and who is not a devotee. We associate, of course, we have to associate also with non-devotees, but we will associate with them in a different way, on a different level, because they're not devotees. So we have to understand everyone's feelings, everyone's position. You cannot, you have to live in this world, you have to work, you have to meet so many people, and not everyone's a devotee. But still, you can associate with them, and Prabhupada certainly was very cordial with people. Everybody he met, people liked Prabhupada, they thought he was very nice, he was always friendly with people, and could relate to them, he liked to hear from them. So we don't reject the non-devotees, but at the same time we have a special level of intimacy in dealing with them. All right? So association here. This is a quotation from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. A man will attain the qualities of the person with whom he associates with, just like a crystal ball takes up the color of the object next to it. Therefore, the wise man will take shelter of those who have qualities like his own, for the prosperity of his family. Right? Association. We reflect the qualities. We have to be desiring, therefore, to associate with devotees. And certainly that's why we all came here, that we can get the association of devotees. We know association. Prabhupada would say association, 98% of our Krishna consciousness depends on association. It's so important. So there are, as we said, devotees, but not all devotees are on the same level. There are different levels of devotees. The new devotee or neophyte devotee is what is termed kanista. He is considered junior or kanista because he has a little faith in the Lord. He has very less knowledge and he has only a little faith. His faith is weak. It can easily be challenged. He can be threatened because his knowledge is not very strong and he has very weak faith. So when he meets challenges from atheists or non-devotees, he can be in difficulty. So we have to understand how to help the Kanista. Here you can see we're saying Kanista. No Sambandha Gyan. He hasn't got that knowledge of the position of the Lord and the living entity as his eternal servant, and the energy of the whole world as being Krishna's energy. All the material world is all the Lord's creation, and it's meant for him. The Kanista also chants, and if he's chanting sincerely, his chanting will be at the level of Namabhas. It's not the pure name, but it can be Namabhas. As we heard Namabhas, it's like it can be very helpful. You can get a lot of benefit from Namabhas. It can help one to go on. But it's not the pure name. You're not going to get Krishna Prem by chanting at Namabhas. And the Kanista generally also, he has no appreciation for other devotees. Sometimes we will describe the Kanista that they think God is only in the temple and they only worship the deity. They don't have any respect that God is also in the heart of the ordinary person. They cannot see God in the heart of other living entities. They just see the Lord in the temple. So they have no service mood to the devotees. That mood of service to the devotees is very good. It's very helpful. Somebody has a mood of service with a Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahur Vimuktes. By serving the devotees, it opens the doors to liberation. So it's very unfortunate that Kanista doesn't have that kind of mood, because he's junior, he's just new devotee. And association, again, he doesn't think about who's good association and who's not. He associates with non-devotees. So he never gets a good association. His faith is weak, he has no real knowledge. This is the position of the Kanista. But he's a devotee. He's chanting the name. He has little faith, some faith. And he can come up to the higher level. He can improve his position by good association. And you get that association from the Madhyama devotee, the intermediate devotee. One who is on the intermediate platform, his faith is strong. And he has also some good Sambandha Gyan. So he can use that Sambandha Gyan to give mercy to the Kanista, to help the Kanista to come up to a higher level. The person on the intermediate level, he likes to do service, and particularly he will like to serve the superior Vaishnavas. He likes to associate with the other devotees, his peers, his equals. He likes to associate with them. And he gives mercy to the juniors. Those who are lower than him, he will give mercy to them and help them to come up, to bring them up. He will avoid the asat people. In other words, the materialistic people. He will not take much association from these people. One who is on the Madhyama level should be chanting the Shuddha Nam. He should be chanting the pure name. So he will be relishing the chanting of the holy name. And he will avoid all offenses in the holy name and in service to the Vaishnavas. So the intermediate devotee, he also can distinguish between who is a devotee and who's not. So he knows where to associate. Generally, the Madhyama devotee we consider to be the preacher, somebody who likes to give Krishna consciousness. So one who is even on the higher level, the Uttama devotee, the topmost devotee, they will come down to the Madhyama level to distribute Krishna consciousness. On the Madhyama level, you can see the Madhyama, he makes distinction. He makes distinction because he can avoid the non-devotees. We don't want to associate with people who are not devotees because they will be offensive. If they're not devotees, they don't have anything nice to say. They will just criticize. They have so many doubts, so many problems. They don't want to hear. And so they're not ready for association. So one who is a Madhyama devotee, he will avoid this kind of association. He will chant the pure name. He has Sambandha Gyan. He avoids Namaparad. He likes to associate with devotees, and he avoids the non-devotees. So Madhyama devotee, he's happy. You can see here associating with devotees, different levels in different ways. He will serve the superiors, and he is happy to serve the superiors. He's friendly with equal devotees. He avoids the non-devotees, and he gives mercy to the junior devotees. This is similar to the instructions given by Narada Muni to Dhruva Maharaj. When Dhruva Maharaj was entering into the forest, at that time Narada Muni had come to him to test Dhruva, because Dhruva was simply a young boy, only 5 years old, and he was leaving home, going into the forest to search out God. So Narada Muni came to test his determination. At that time, Narada Muni also mentioned to him about how a person in proper knowledge will know how to associate with different people. He will be happy to be with people who are his seniors. He will be happy to greet them and to serve them. And he will take pleasure in being with his equals also, in sharing with them. Bhagavad Gita describes how they take pleasure in enlightening one another and conversing about Krishna. This is association. And he will try to bring up others. From the lower level, he will try to bring people up. That is the mercy of an advanced devotee, that he can bring people up from the lower level. Sometimes you get people who are on top and they like to keep everyone under them. They don't like to bring people up. They like that everyone should be under me. But the actually advanced devotee, he will bring the juniors up and he will help them to come up, to take more responsibility and to do more service. And we saw Srila Prabhupada do that. How Srila Prabhupada brought people up, gave them responsibilities, put them in charge of the society even. Prabhupada was bringing them up. So this is real association. You make distinction. If you associate with the non-devotees, they just criticize. They become more offensive. So I told before, Prabhupada was in India and he was talking and he was criticizing, he was saying, these people, rascals, fools, like that. He was criticizing the non-devotees. So one man was there, one Indian man protested. He said, Swamiji, you're very critical. He said, you should see everyone equally. Because Krishna says, Samo Pandita Darshana. One who is learned sees everyone equal. But Prabhupada said to him, I am not on that level. So the man was a bit, shocked what to say. But and later on, the devotees talked to the man, not Prabhupada, but the devotees, they spoke to this man and they explained to this man that Srila Prabhupada is traveling the world and he's preaching Bhagavad Gita to everyone. So when the man heard that, then the man changed his opinion and he thought that is real equality, because he is distributing the message of Lord Krishna to everyone. So it's not just being sentimental about things, being equal to everyone, but the real teacher, the real acharyas, they will do like that. They will give mercy to everyone by teaching Krishna consciousness. At the same time, in the course of our preaching, we may also attack certain behavior, certain activities. We can condemn them. Certain philosophies, we also can criticize them and condemn them. Prabhupada taught us not to criticize the person, but he was saying, what does he teach? He said, what does he teach? And then analyze their philosophy and point out the defect in their philosophy. So that's an important point. If you actually criticize a person by name, that's not good. That will get you in trouble. Just like there was one devotee, one senior devotee in Delhi, right? Did you hear about the one devotee? And he criticized somebody anyway. He criticized somebody who was very popular with people. And it got a lot of feedback on the internet because he's very much on the mobile network. It brought a lot of feedback. And Gopal Krishna Maharaj, who was there at the time, he suspended that devotee. He said, for 1 month you go away. He sent him away. No preaching for 1 month. Go and chant and read. Because he'd openly criticized a very prominent man, a sadhu, and anyway, don't mention people's names, but Prabhupada would ask, what does he teach? And then point out what is the defect in their philosophy. So that is the technique. So on the highest platform we have the Uttama, right? 3 levels of devotees, Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttama. So Uttama realization, that person, he sees Krishna in everything. He realizes Sambandha Gyan. He's not just hearing it, he's not just saying it, but he's actually realized it. That Krishna's energy, Krishna is the supreme, and everyone is Krishna's servant, and everything belongs to Krishna, and he is the maintainer, and he is the proprietor, and he is the best friend of everyone. He actually realizes this, and he relishes the chanting of the holy name. So there's no possibility of nam aparad. He's so much into the holy name. There's no possibility that he could commit offense. And he also does not distinguish between a Vaishnava and a non-Vaishnava. He doesn't preach because he's just chanting the holy name. Generally, the topmost devotee, he would just do bhajan. He's just engaged in his bhajan, bhajananandi, right? There's the bhajananandi and the ghostavanandi. Bhajananandi takes pleasure in his own chanting. But Ghostavanandi tries to preach, tries to give Krishna consciousness. So on the topmost level, he does not distinguish between a devotee and a non-devotee, because he's not associating with them. He's not going to associate, he's just simply associating with Krishna. He's chanting the holy name. And he sees everyone is engaged in Krishna's service. So you can see the characteristics of the Uttama. He relishes Krishna in name, no offense in chanting, realizes Sambandha Gyan, sees Krishna in everything, and does not distinguish a Vaishnava from a non-Vaishnava. This is the topmost devotee. Quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 2nd chapter, verse 45. The most advanced devotee sees the Supreme Lord, one's object of worship within everything, and sees everything in the Supreme Lord. It's very similar to that verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam chamai pashyati tasyaham na pranashami satame na pranashati. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost to him, nor is he ever lost to me. This is Uttama Adhikari realization, the topmost level. And one should contemplate the mood of the Lord within oneself as being present in all living entities. The Lord is within everyone. Certainly, we have to understand the Lord's mood. How He's within every living entity, helping, trying to make arrangements to bring everyone back to Godhead, as the well-wisher of everyone. This is another verse from 10th canto, chapter 21. Chapter 21 means Venu Gita. The gopis are singing, describing the flute. The gopis are talking about how even the rivers are affected by the sound of Krishna's flute. Actually, it began with the gopis talking about the cloud, how the clouds were also affected by Krishna's flute. And then after talking about the cloud, then they spoke this verse about how the rivers, the different rivers in Braja, like the Yamuna and Manasiganga, how they're affected when they hear the sound, the transcendental vibration of Lord Krishna's flute. So it describes here, when the rivers hear the flute song of Krishna, their minds begin to desire him. And thus the flow of their current is broken, and their waters are agitated, moving around in whirlpools. Then, with the arms of their waves, the rivers embrace Murari's lotus feet, and holding onto them, present offerings of lotus flowers. So the waves are compared to arms, and the arms are bringing the lotuses from their water, placing them on the lotus feet of Krishna. In this way, gopis are describing the effect of Krishna's flute on the rivers in Braja. So, if we have committed sadhu ninda, is there any hope for us? Is it possible to be forgiven, to be relieved of that offense? And so the remedy is given, first of all, repentance. Repentance is very important. We have to really want to recognize our fault, and we want to get forgiveness from the devotee. We know the classic example, of course, is Durvasa Muni, who had tried to destroy Maharaj Ambarish, and he ended up being chased by the Sudarshan Chakra. And he went to Lord Brahma, he went to Lord Shiva, none of them could help him. He even went to Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha. But even Lord Vishnu could not help him. And Durvasa was surprised. He said, but it's your Sudarshan Chakra. But the Lord of Vaikuntha told him, you have offended the devotee. You have to go to the devotee. Only the devotee can relieve you from the reactions for that offense. So the remedy to overcome sadhuninda, we have to beg forgiveness from the devotee. And this is why every morning we have the custom in our ISKCON society that every morning after our Mongol Arti and Tosi Puja and after Shikshastikam and 10 offenses, we all offer obeisances to each other. This was introduced by Srila Prabhupada. It happened, you know, when Prabhupada first came to India, he brought the devotees to India. Prabhupada began the movement in America. He didn't begin it in India. Nobody, well, actually he had one disciple in India, but he was not getting really support in India. And he went to America. And in the USA, he got devotees. And then he decided he wanted to bring them to India, to begin the preaching in India. And he called different leaders to come with him. Of course, you know the 3 householder couples who went to London. Prabhupada also brought 4 of them out of the 6 to India with him. Guru Das and Yamuna and Shamsundar and Malati, they went to India with Prabhupada. They left London. Mukunda Prabhu was left there with his wife Janaki, but the others went to India. So Prabhupada also called the different leaders, the temple presidents from the different places. And they were all, you know, leaders. They were young and they had a lot of energy and a lot of passion. And Prabhupada brought them to India, 1970 or even, yeah, it must have been 70 or 69 even, 70 I think. And anyway, they went to India, and you know, India in 1970, it was really tough, you know. It wasn't a very luxurious place, you know, quite austere. And they came to India, and previously they'd all been leaders, and they had their own temples, and they'd been making devotees, and they were quite powerful, aggressive, you know. We had a lot of Sankirtan going on every day, going out on Harinam Sankirtan, book distribution, and now they've all come to India with Prabhupada, the leaders, big, powerful men, and naturally there were problems, you know. They couldn't all get along so well because they'd all been used to being in charge. And now, you know, Prabhupada would put one of them, tell, okay, Guru Das, you're in charge, or Tamal Krishna Maharaj, you're in charge. Or one person's in charge and there's so many others. And before they'd been in charge, but now they're the servant, you know, it's a little difficult for them. So there were problems, there were conflicts, the living conditions were very difficult, very austere. the cooking, the food, everything, it was all difficult, very very big change from living in USA. But they've come to India, and there were problems. The devotees couldn't get along well with each other. They were arguing. Those days, you know, people were passionate, you know, they push and fight and things, you know. So Prabhupada could understand the problems, so he told them, every morning you have to offer obeisances to each other. It's very important. So I also encouraged people who are not living in the temple. You may not be living in the temple, but where you're living, it's a good practice to offer obeisances, to show respects to the people who you're living with, who you're sharing a home with. You know, to bow down to each other, offer your respectful obeisances, because in the course of our dealings, there will be disagreements, there will be conflicts. We want to nullify these things. And if we come together and just simply offer our respectful obeisances and beg forgiveness if we have committed any offenses, this will nullify the whole situation. So it's a very good practice, and we have continued to do this throughout the history of the movement, and for every center in the world we have that program. It's an important part of our daily sadhana to offer respects to all the devotees. All right, so are there any questions? Because we don't have a lot of time. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Excuse me. Actually, my question comes from yesterday's class. Yesterday you mentioned the 5 process: Nama, Abhasa, Sambandha Jnana, Abhideya Jnana, and Shuddhanama and Prayojana. Here, the Shuddhanama, I just think about Shuddhanama should be put before Sambandha Jnana, but here Shuddhanama puts it after Abhideya. So it means if living entities stay in Sambandhana and Abhideya, so they didn't achieve Shuddhanama level? Because I remember there is a picture, you explain Shuddhanama means face. So here it means if living entities stay in Sambandha and Abhideya, it means they still don't have face.
Sambandha and Abhideya?
Abhideya and then Shuddhanama.
Yes, that's right. You won't chant the Shuddhanam unless you have proper Sambandha and unless you're properly engaged in devotional service. You have to engage in the devotional process in order to chant the Shuddhanam. To come to the level of pure chanting, you have to practice devotional service. So first we will chant, it will be usually Nam Aparad, then Nam Abhas, and then come to Shuddhanam. So your chanting will progress. But if you don't have Sambandha Gyan, then your chanting will not be very good. It will be simply Nam Aparad. Sambandha Gyan will bring your chanting up to the higher level. So the Shuddhanam comes after the Sambandha Gyan and after the Prayojana.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Maharaj.
Any other questions?
Hare Krishna， 深深的顶拜 Guru Maharaj。我的问题就是，昨天、今天，Guru 讲到了，就是主要圣名和次要圣名，这一点还是有点不理解。 可不可以请咕噜在就是什么哪些是主要声明，哪些是次要的声明？Hare Krishna。
She was not sure the difference between the primary name and the secondary names.
Primary name, we explained, primary names of the Supreme Lord are those names in relation to the Lord's pastimes and his intimate associates. Names like Yashomati Nandana, Brajabaranagara, Gokula Ranjana. These are all primary names of Lord Krishna. They're in relation to his pastimes. Secondary names are more in relation to his creative functions. Names like the Paramatma or Ishvara or Bhagavan. And of course, one exception to this, of course, is the name of Jagannath, because Lord Jagannath is very dear to all of the devotees. Lord Jagannath, when we hear the name, we can immediately relate to the form of Lord Jagannath, and we think of the Lord as a person. But when you talk about Ishvara or Brahman or these are more impersonal things. But Lord Jagannath is a very special name. Okay.
One question from online devotees.
Yeah.
在网上有一个奉献者问到啊 ，Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj from Narayana Das. What is the difference between Vaishnava Aparad and Sadhuninda? Thank you. 这个 Narayan Das 问到Vaishnava Aparad 和 Sadhuninda 的区别是什么？
No difference. No difference. Sadhu Ninda means the same thing. Vaishnav Aparad. Right? Just another way of describing Vaishnav Aparad. Sadhu Ninda. Offense against a sadhu. A sadhu, we describe a sadhu as being a Vaishnava, a devotee.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Wonderful presentation, Maharaj. This time it was shown as the points and then the pictorial depiction also. So it explained us more clearly. Thank you for that.
Sorry?
It explained us more clearly, first in the form of the points and then in the pictorial depiction. So appreciation. Maharaj, my question was, in the Madhyama level devotees, you have mentioned about Shuddhanam and Kanishta as Namabhas level. So I was Namabhas level. So I was just thinking, is there a situation where Madhyama level devotees can be in between Namabhas and Shuddhanam? Because Shuddhanam somehow, for my understanding, is at the highest level or topmost.
Well,
Uttama level devotees can come to Madhyama for preaching, but Madhyama level also thinking of to be at the Shuddhanam is little, I mean, in everybody's capacity, everybody is trying to preach, but everyone is not at the Shuddhanam level.
yes.
So I was just trying to understand more. Thank you.
Well, we pointed out that the Shuddhanam, somebody may chant the holy name one time, can be Shuddhanam, right? And somebody else may be chanting constantly. And somebody else, you simply see them, it makes other people chant. So the different levels of Shuddhanam, there is some variation there between different devotees chanting the pure name. They can all be on different levels. You know, sometimes we think that pure devotee is all on one level, but you have to understand pure devotion. There can be many different variations there among pure devotees. It's not all just simply one. So somebody's chanting Shuddhanam, somebody may just chant even one time the Shuddhanam, but they can be considered pure devotee, they chanted the Shuddhanam. So someone on the Madhyama level chanting the pure name, because he has faith and he has some knowledge, his Sambandha Gyan is there, So his chanting is good, and he takes care to avoid offenses. His faith may be not fully, his faith is strong, his knowledge may not be so perfect. Generally we will say the Uttama will have the full knowledge. Someone on the Uttama platform, he can defeat all arguments. The Madhyama, his faith will be strong, but his knowledge may not be sufficient to defeat all the arguments which people may give them. But still he has that strong faith. So when he chants the holy name, his chanting is Shuddhanam, the pure name. And he's taking care to avoid offenses. So this way, this is the Madhyama devotee. And Prabhupada, on the topmost level, he would come down sometimes to the Madhyama level to preach and to express some different realizations. There's a realization on the Uttama level and a different realization on the Madhyama level. Because the Madhyama, he's making distinctions. And he sees somebody a devotee, somebody's not a devotee. But the Uttama, he's seeing everyone simply serving Krishna. Everyone's just engaged in Krishna. So he doesn't preach. There's no need to preach. Everybody's already serving Krishna. So this is the Bhajan Anandi, right? We were hearing Krishna Das, Akinchana Krishna Das Babaji yesterday. Ramapada Swami showed that picture. Prabhupada's godbrother. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he had initiated some people as Babajis. Not many, but there were a few. And Akinchana Krishna Das Babaji was one. And he was a very dear friend of Srila Prabhupada. They had great love and great respect for each other. And after Prabhupada departed from the world, Akinchana Krishna Das Babaji was there in the temple room and he led the kirtan. Amazing kirtan. He was a wonderful kirtaniya. You can ask Bhakti Bringa Govinda Maharaj. He knows very well. He knew very well Akinchana Krishna Das Babaji Maharaj. And so Babajis generally, they just like to chant the holy name. Prabhupada said, no Babajis in ISKCON. Although they did have one, we did have one time. There was a story, I'll tell you. There was the one person. He had come to Mayapur. He was a Western-bodied young man from the US. They brought him to Prabhupada and they said, Prabhupada, this devotee, he's preaching to people because doctors have told him he's got some disease and he's going to die soon. So he's going to colleges and he's preaching to people about how he's preparing for death by practicing Krishna consciousness. So they asked Srila Prabhupada, can you give him sannyas? So Prabhupada said, no. He said, sannyas is for preaching work, traveling and preaching. He said, if he's going to die, he's got something, he should just chant the holy name. He should just sit down at the bank of the Ganga and chant the holy name. So Prabhupada said, we can give him Babaji initiation. He can be a Babaji. So he was the first Babaji, he was the last Babaji. What happened was, you know, he lived in Mayapur and he put on the white cloth of the Babaji and, you know, and they got very nice prasadam every day and he was chanting every day. They went to the doctor again somehow. Doctor said, nothing wrong with you. And so when he heard that, he didn't go back to Mayapur. Went back to America. Became a karmi again. So Prabhupada, when he heard it, said, no more Babajis. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.